Good blessed Saturday morning, April the 3rd, 2021. The time being about 9:27 a.m. I greet all human beings all around the world with a universal greetings of peace, and the blessings of God be with you. It doesn't matter what your political, philosophical, personal, nor religious beliefs may be. It doesn't matter whether you're the richest to the poorest person on the face of this earth. It doesn't even matter whether you're the proclaimed toughest to the proclaimed weakest person on the face of this earth. Doesn't matter if you're my family, friends, nor my proclaimed enemies. Doesn't matter whether you like me, my YouTube channel, which I encourage all people around the world to subscribe to it. It doesn't cost you a penny. All it costs you is your undivided attention, whether you like it or not. I don't look for thumbs up, nor do I look for thumbs down. I don't look for likes and dislikes. I don't upload these YouTube videos or get on any social media for likes and dislikes. All I try to do is awaken somebody that may be in spiritual darkness. When you're in spiritual darkness, it's just like being in mental slavery. Mental slavery is worse than physical slavery. Physical slavery, you know that you are being held captive against your will because you have shackles on your ankles and unwanted bracelets on your wrists. You're being told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and who to do it for. And if you don't do it, you're subject to be murdered, raped, killed, or separated from your family. But you see, in mental slavery, you are actually free, but your mind, you see what I'm saying? Your mind is in captivity because you allowed Satan to use his only power. Satan only have one power. The devil only have one power, and that's the power of suggestion. My oldest daughter, she made me get back to reality a long time ago when she was little, and I went to prison when she was about 6 months old, and I got back out. She was going on 5 years old, and somebody threatening me in the neighborhood that we was living in, and they said something to her, and I pulled a trigger and shot somebody. And years later, she said, "They didn't make you pull that trigger. You pulled that trigger." Even though I pulled it in what I felt was self-defense, but she was right. I could have let them do what they did and said what they said to her. But Satan suggested it to me. But Satan wasn't responsible. I was responsible. Mental slavery is some of you blacks out here that's killing each other for no reason at all. Some people say there's no such thing as black on black crime, but it is. It's bad enough all the way from 1492 when Christopher Columbus came over here, the Italian guy that a lot of y'all still letting your kids believe, your children in school believe he discovered this place over here. But I'm here to tell you, if you do your history, I teach my daughters. You do your history in 1419, Christopher Columbus sailed over here from Europe with the support of the Queen and King of Spain. They traveled over here. They traveled the seas because they was a bunch of criminals. You see what I'm saying? And then when they touched down to where they seen people smoking weed and being peaceful, people drinking alcohol and then getting to act ignorant amongst each other. But when it was all said and done, they still grew their own food. You see what I'm saying? They didn't depend on anybody else. And Christopher Columbus, just like some of these other people today, and if the shoe fit, wear it, that's what they're doing. They're trying to find your weakness. You see, apologize, somebody tried to call me, but I can't let them interrupt this message because it might wake somebody up. But when they know that somebody got a weakness, You see what I'm saying? Like I was married. My wife was strong when she didn't mess with her weakness. But Satan knew if all they had to do is just introduce something to her. You see what I'm saying? Introduce, do something to her because you got too strong of a man. You see what I'm saying? We got to try to break him down by breaking you down. Might get a little sensitive here now. Whoever took my son's life, you breaking me down, but you ain't breaking me down enough that I'm gonna stop seeking. I'm not gonna stop seeking this justice. But some of you all out there that's committing this black on black crimes, 10 and 11-year-old, know where your 10 and 11-year-old at. When your 10 and 11-year-old get shot and killed by the police, shot and killed by somebody else, I don't care what color they is. I don't care if it's a Ku Klux Klan, breaking into somebody else's house, breaking into somebody's car, hijacking them, and then when they shoot and kill them, then you say they didn't have to do it. But let me tell you, it's a lot of dangerous young children out there because of the fact they parents. They can be gone all night. They can bring in hundreds and thousands of dollars, but they all right. But then when they get shot and killed, it's a whole different thing. But let me tell y'all something. Satan ain't gonna break me down. I may cry, but when I cry too much, you better get out of my way. It ain't a sign of no weakness. You see, my grandmother on my dad's side was Irish and black. My grandmother on my mother's side was Indian and black. Let me show you something what my grandmother taught me when I was a young child. My mother came down in this same area that I'm living in now and brought my grandmother down because her mother had died that was taking care of her, and my grandmother was blind. She said, when you seeking after something, especially she gave me the scenario in August of 1977 when my oldest brother was shot down like an animal in Cabrini Green. Shot 4 times in the back and once in the back of the head because he whooped a coward that called itself running the area in Cabrini Green. That's what cowards do. If you running it and you got in a boxing match and you got your behind whooped, you don't need to be running it. But that's another thing. My grandmother said, you light a fire. It don't have to necessarily be physical, but make sure that fire stay burning until you get justice. Keep water around you where the valley will never run too low while you traveling to look for justice. Have patience because sometimes you will be stuck. Well, why they ain't doing this here? But let me show you something. Today, early this morning, I got up and changed my oil. I thank my homie, JB, in Chicago because I would have still been asleep. He thought the balloon release or the candlelight vigil for my son in Hummel Park on North Avenue in California today at from 7 to 8 o'clock. He thought it was 7 o'clock in the morning. That's a homie. He got up like the birds. They say the early bird get the worms. But I don't want y'all to get lost with this message. If you got a mind to think, just keep it in. Try to digest it. But he woke me up. God had allowed him woke me up because I wanted to change my oil in my vehicle because I'm doing a lot of riding from here to Chicago, from here to Carbondale, Illinois. But see, I got stuck when I was changing my oil with this filter, the thing to take the oil filter off. And look what it caused. It caused a spill. When I finally got it off, I forgot to open up the one drain to my oil bucket to allow the oil to go in. And I couldn't see it. I was up under my vehicle, all the way up under there. And my hand, it finally, God allowed me, I cussed a little bit to myself. God allowed me to touch it and open it up. But I got stuck. And it came back to what Grandma said, you got to have patience. Patience is a virtue. You see, after I got that done, I said I got to leave, so I want to make sure my valley is filled with water. You see, my birds and my squirrels and other animals that come by, they depends on me. They don't actually depend on me, but they come by to get water. We have peanuts and nuts in the yard for the squirrels. But Grandma say one of the most important things, y'all listen now. Some of y'all think that I'm crazy. They said I'm crazy. Some said I'm dumb. But I showed them yesterday that I used to teach ABE, Adult Basic Education, in the penitentiary. I taught CPR and EMT in the penitentiary. But Grandma say the most important thing, my daddy even told me that because he was in World War II when they was fighting against Adolf Hitler. We got a lot of Adolf Hitlers out here today. But they told me the most important thing is to keep that fire burning. You see that fire? It's going to burn for a long time. You see, my grandmother told me to keep that fire burning so when the night come, you see what I'm saying? And you traveling, and you have other people traveling in the same road that you traveling, you leave a mark for them. And then my daddy in the military, he told me, you keep this here burning. You see what I'm saying? You don't interrupt your enemies when they're making a mistake. Your enemies may think you're right here, but they don't know. You see these here? Your enemies is getting ready to get in one of these here. These is cat graves here. But your enemies is finna get in there. And some enemies you have to take out by any means necessary. But we getting ready to head up. I let my children and grandchildren, I let them still rest while I'm taking care of everything that I got to take care of. I'm hurt, y'all. That was my firstborn. That was my only son. But one thing about it, I done had 2 sergeants, a chief of police, a police that used to work in Cabrini Green and went down to Carbondale, made sergeant, retired, and all of them is contact now. They said they searching for, not for exactly a hanging, but it's called a death investigation. Let me tell you the difference than a death investigation and a homicide investigation and an apparent suicide. See, that's what it was. That's what it was going to be at first until I opened my mouth. You see, a closed mouth can't be fed. A silent voice can't be heard. If anybody know me, I don't think I'm the toughest person on the face of this earth. But I'll guarantee you I'm not the weakest. I'll fight battles by myself. But you see, opening my mouth has gotten attention where the Illinois State Police is even involved. If it's necessary, I want the federal government to get involved. And if I have time, I'm going to go right on Cambridge where all of you so-called activists was when a friend of mine that I grew up in Cabrini Green with, when her 9-year-old got killed, all you Negroes that stood on Cambridge in front of all of them news medias talking about ain't no more of this here. One of y'all I contacted. You always in the news. You got people thinking that you was somebody in Cabrini Green. You was a snotty-nosed punk coward when I was coming up. You was a drug addict. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about all drug addicts, but I'm talking about this particular one. You wrote a bouncing check to one of my homies that got out of the penitentiary trying to get himself right. And when you wrote him that bounce check after he did work for you, getting this government grant money, you know who you are. You know who you are. And my homie had to go back to jail because the money that he owed them people for going to court, it bounced. See, you just like Christopher Columbus. You a thief and a robber. But you see, my homie, he got me and some of my other homies, real Cabrini Green, everybody from Cabrini, everybody that live in Cabrini Green or study from the Greens. You know, one thing about the Greens, we had a unity. We had such a unity, it's been probably more murders on the one side of Cambridge that been open than it been for the whole duration that I stayed in Cabrini Green. But I'm going to leave for right now because after I get through with all of this here, my children get up. We're going to head back to Carbondale because I want to go right to that thing again because there's something else I want to show. How loose that railing would be if my son would have jumped down and hung himself. We already got curiosity now. You can't hang yourself with money in your hand. Ain't no black folks going that I know of. Unless they Willie Wilson, who was out there yesterday on 63rd, I think, in Halstead, giving out money. Some people say it was $43, but it was $43 more than you had the last time. If you didn't want it, you shouldn't have took it. I'd have took it, and I got my children to take it, and I'd have put it on my son's funeral. But anyway, y'all pray for me. You got to stay strong for my son's mother and my daughters and my granddaughters, especially his daughter. We talk, even his daughter mother. She'll be 30, I think, in 9 more days. Her son never got a chance to see my son, and he'll be 5, my great-grandson. I told him, don't blame yourself. If anybody to blame, it's me. You see, I did so much for him, and I got tired sometime, but my mother never got tired, and I told my children, maybe if I'd have just kept on going. But maybe can't bring them back alive. But again, my mother told me this, and I'm going to leave y'all. I said, why, by you believing in God, did he allow them cowards to take my oldest brother's life at 21 years old? And she said, let me tell you this. She said, your brother left and came back. He was a different person. He changed. He tried to bring another way of life for people in Cabrini Green. He showed them the penitentiary ain't the place to be, because I've been there. Toughness ain't the place to be, but he was a master with boxing and martial arts. Little did the little guy that called himself running Cabrini Green at the time, you see what I'm saying? Little did he know my brother was a master of boxing. He thought because my brother looked good, kept him a little process, that he was somebody that he can do like he did the rest of them. But let me tell you the moral to that particular story. He killed my brother August the 3rd, 1977. My mother told me, let God handle it. He said, if your brother didn't do anything wrong, then God will take care of it. I got to working on the ambulance. I was in Cabrini Green, a couple of blocks away from where he killed my brother, and some of my homies got to pouring out liquor. I wasn't drinking or nothing. And I said, what's that for? They said, that's for Woogie, my brother. That's what we called him. I said, the day ain't his birthday. He said, 6 years ago on this same day, August the 3rd, I believe it was 1983, the coward shot and killed my brother. And him and 3 other people right on Cambridge, by the first hill closest to Oak. The one who killed my brother, shot him in the back 4 times, once in the back of the head. Him and 3 other guys OD'd off of heroin. The other 3 guys survived, and he didn't. I went to his funeral and got his obituary and took it to my mother. My mother asked me one thing. Well, she asked me 2 things. She said, did you kill him? I said, no, he OD'd off of heroin. Y'all excuse me, my nose running, I'm hurt. Then she said, how you feel? I said, Mom, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sad and I'm not glad because neither one would bring my brother back. But I'm glad I did what you said do. A few years later, one of the guys that set my brother up, that my brother trust, him and somebody else was trying to take something from a female. And the female and her son eliminated him. Peace, be still.